G'day, have I got a story for you? Check the disclaimer. Season 1, Episode 26 is a two-part episode. The first part will be narrated by Laura ReilyTruth.
Well, I'm still here in this office. I've had the chance to escape 3 times now. My life here is just awful. Being secretary to this man. He ensures that all scientists behave in the most horrific ways, similar to him. I could have left, but I chose to stay. You may be wondering why. I see and hear such atrocities being performed on so many people, all done by scientists claiming that they are conducting experiments. Maybe they should be truthful and call it torturing and murdering people. I know about so many horrible things that happen in this place, on this and other levels, all from the reports that cross my desk from my boss. His actions are akin to those that would be expected of a vile barbarian, and he is aptly referred to by many as the Mangler. I'm sure you can imagine why. Occasionally, I am required to put stickers with wires attached on people who have to wait in my office. I know if they fall asleep, some of those wires will send an electric shock. So I watch and wait, and if they look like they might fall asleep, I make sure I do something to keep them awake. When I am the only one here with them, it's easy. But when others are here, in my office, I have to do it without them noticing. I always have 2 metal trays ready to knock off my desk, and the loud sound they make as they fall to the wooden floor helps people to stay awake. If the Mangler is in my office, they don't tend to fall asleep because of his loud voice. The work I have to do is quite easy, and I seem to be able to have it all done in about an hour, whereas I am expected to be busy completing it all day. In my spare time, I often walk the halls, past such heinous behaviour, and wonder how they can call these abusive acts experiments. People often die at the hands of these scientists, and their precious bodies are literally thrown into the hallways, ready for cleanup crews. Occasionally, I see a person laying there still alive. I know that they've thrown them out as though they have no value. I often cry out in my mind in case little one is here. I wish I could save every person, but without little one's help, it is impossible. Last time, I hid 3 children for 5 days, waiting to hear from little one. The second she was here, she knew, and had everything ready by the time I walked into the room where I hid them. Little one is a voice I hear in my mind, and I usually know when she is nearby, because my mind is suddenly clearer. I can recall things I'd previously forgotten, and it seems like the mist or fog that usually makes me feel so heavy evaporates. I'm not sure how else to describe that feeling. I know it doesn't really make sense, but I just feel lighter, as though a weight has gone. I remember the day we saved 6 people. First 3 of them were all thrown on top of each other outside one of the labs. They were all alive, but looked close to death. Not that I'd really know. I'm not a doctor. When I knew little one was here, I just had to get them to the elevator and knew she would take care of the rest, because we had done this 3 times before. I asked at the door of the lab if they would like me to clean up the slabs. which is what I know these scientists call these precious people. They told me to have at it, which I have learned means yes, and that there will be more slabs throughout the day. I quickly went to the trolley station, partway down the hall, and there was a low trolley for large items there. Perfect. As I wheeled it towards the victims, I knew that little one had everything ready and was watching, waiting to help. As I sort of rolled and tried to lift these precious people onto the trolley, I whispered to them that I've come to save them and that I just have to get them to the elevator. I really needed their cooperation because I was just not strong enough to lift them. They tried their best to help me, but two of them could barely lift their heads. The large man mostly pushed himself onto the trolley and tried to help by pulling the other two on with him and holding them close. As soon as he saw they were on, he breathed a sigh of relief and passed out. With them on the trolley, I walked towards the elevators. I waited until there was no one left there, stating that they should go first because the trolley takes up such a lot of room. Eventually, there was no one left, and when the elevator opened, little one let me know that this was it. I pushed the trolley into the elevator and shoved it as hard as I could into the portal that little one opened at the back. I watched the trolley disappear as it went through, and then pressed the 7th level button. As the elevator moved, the portal disintegrated. The elevator stopped at level 7, the disposal level. I told the startled janitors that I needed the 1st level, which was the truth. I held the close door button until the empty trolley suddenly came through a new portal at the back of the elevator. I then pressed level 1 and watched the portal disappear. I rolled the empty trolley into the hallway outside the room where I had retrieved the victims and asked the scientists if they would like me to leave it there. I said to them, "If you put all your slabs onto the trolley, I can check during the day and dispose of them quickly before my boss sees them." They didn't seem to like the idea, probably because they consider me similar to a lab rat and similar to the slabs. I could see that they were about to dismiss me until I said, "None of us wants the wrath of my boss coming down on us, do we?" It was then that they agreed. It was fortunate that the janitors often take a long time to respond. When they eventually did, I rushed out before they got to the room to let them know that I would clean up the level 1 used slabs for the day. They seemed relieved. Little one always let me know. That time, all 3 survived. I was so relieved, but made sure I kept a straight face and headed for the bathroom. I may not have let any sound escape my lips, but I was so happy. After checking the stalls, I did what I call my happy dance, and then went back to my office. It wasn't easy keeping a straight face, knowing that it was a rescue day. I watched throughout the day, and when I saw a person on the trolley, I rushed over. But they told me to wait a minute because another slab was almost ready. I made sure I behaved as though I didn't care, and went to the bathroom because it was nearby and I could get back there quickly. The second I heard little one in my thoughts, letting me know that the next person was there, I rushed out and wheeled them to the elevator. I repeated what I did last time and returned the trolley outside that same room. It was a while before I heard from little one that time. I was worried because they both looked like they had passed away. Eventually, I heard. One of them couldn't be revived. I immediately thought it was my fault because I didn't take her straight away. But it wasn't her. It was the man who got thrown on top of her who didn't survive. I kept telling myself, we saved 4 out of 5, which was good. I couldn't stop thinking about that man. It hurt on the inside. All afternoon I was grieving for that man. When I heard little one again, I could tell she was grieving too. We have death all around us, but when we try to save someone and they still pass away, it's different somehow. We feel responsible, even though we know we're not. To this day, I still grieve for that man and the others that I've failed to save. For the 3rd time, I rushed to the trolley just as the 2 scientists came out of the room with a 2nd person. That poor person was begging them, saying that she was still alive. They laughed at her and told me that I might have trouble getting that slab to the furnace. A little way down the hall, she rolled herself off the trolley. As I went to put her back, I whispered to her, "Don't worry, I'm here to save you. I just have to get you to the elevator." And asked, "Do you hear the little one's voice in your mind?" She helped me as best she could to get back onto the trolley, and the man who was still on the trolley thanked me. They both passed out. For the 3rd time that day, I used the same procedure at the elevators, glad that no janitors were on level 7 that time. It was so easy to rescue these precious people because it was assumed they were put in the furnace. I didn't say I would do that. I simply said that I would clean up the slabs, which I did. I just did it my way. I returned the trolley to the trolley bay because the scientists were all leaving for the day. Little one let me know that they were both fine. So I'm still here in this office. I've had the chance to escape 3 times now. My life here is still awful, being secretary to this man. I could have left, but I chose to stay. And now you know why. We saved 6 lives out of 7 that day. We are so glad for the 6. But little one and I still grieve for the 7th, even to this day.
Previously,
I keep watch on one mum there who does not realize she's a mum. How many years of her memories were stolen? She will be okay. Grandma is helping her.
continues. I step out of the portal with my 2 trolleys laden with edibles, and the first question I ask is, "Does anyone know where the kitchen is?" Someone points me in the right direction, and as I take my 2 trolleys with me, I call out, "Please bring everything for the kitchen when you're ready. No need to hurry, we've got plenty of time." I smile to myself. We have all the time we need. No more schedules, no more people telling me what I can or can't cook. Just a lovely big kitchen, I assume. I hope it is lovely and big. I stand still for a moment. I'm not as young as I used to be. Pushing one full trolley and pulling another behind me, well, it isn't easy. What is all that excitement that's getting louder and louder? I leave the trolleys where they are and go back. As I pass some tea ladies with their trolleys laden with food, I see that they've decided to come back and see what all the excitement is too. What a sight. Men realizing they're dads to so many children. Women instinctively going to the children who they're sure are theirs. And the happy voices of children excitedly realizing that they belong to parents who will love them. There is a lot of tears, happy tears. I see one young woman sitting by herself watching. What is she holding? Is that a razor blade? Where did she get that? Do you have a wristband, honey? I ask.
Yes,
She says.
but it doesn't match any mummy or daddy. I still have no parents. I am alone.
I sit close to her, and she shows no emotion. Would it be okay if I checked, just in case? I ask. You wouldn't have been given a wristband for nothing. She shows me and I go to check them. Eventually, I return to her with a big grin on my face. Do you know why you have no parents here? I continue without waiting for an answer. It's because you are the parent. There are 3 babies here that are yours. She frowns, looks at the razor blade in her hands and says,
That's not funny.
No, it's not funny. I agree. It's wonderful,
I can't have babies.
she says.
I am only 6 years old. I am too young to have a baby. I need my mummy and my daddy, and they are not here.
Darling, you can't be 6 years old. Didn't you notice that you are taller than all of these children? I ask. Sometimes these scientists did things, awful things to people's memories. Maybe they took your memories. Maybe you don't remember. We have a long conversation, so long that we're the only 2 left sitting on 2 of the chairs in what I assume used to be a waiting area. Julie, that's her name, and I decide to find a mirror so she can see her reflection. It is taking us a while, but eventually we find the lady's loo. I watch her reaction to seeing herself much older than she thought. Oh, how many years of her memories were stolen from her? I give her quite a while to get used to the idea, and she remembers a few things that she didn't before. I ask her to turn and stand facing my way. Then ask her to look in the mirror, only turning her head. She still doesn't notice. She's only looking at her face. Julie, I say, look at your stomach. You are pregnant. She looks down in the mirror, gasps, then pulls up her shirt with one hand. I think she is in shock. She quickly throws the razor blade aside and hugs her bulging stomach, crying, telling me between tears that they told her that she was fat. Her tears flow for a long time.
This baby is mine,
She eventually says.
and no one can take it away from me. This baby is mine.
She keeps repeating this, and I wonder if she is remembering her babies
No one can
being
take
taken away from her.
This baby is mine. And no
I retrieve the razor blade, carefully securing it in my purse. I don't want it left here for a child to find. When we eventually go to look for everyone, they are all in what I assume is the dining hall, eating a meal. Wow, I can imagine that a fair bit of cooperation was needed to be able to get together a meal for this many people, especially when the majority of these people have no idea how to cook. I can see that some of the people have rummaged through the food and made everyone spaghetti. And it looks pretty good too. I had no idea we had been gone that long, but it was worth taking time for this young lady. I remember that child's voice in my mind. She said, "Every life is precious. Every life is worth the effort." There are happy voices everywhere and babies at the end of the room on the carpet, with some of the people watching over them. As we approach, a young man points to 3 beautiful babies and says that he believes that the 3 on the left may belong to her. When she looks at them, she gasps and says that they look just like her baby brother. I see tears forming in her eyes again as she kisses them all.
I think I remember having twins.
She hugs them all in turn, then starts again. The man lets us know that the twins have been fed by one of the women, and the toddler had some mashed spaghetti and vegetables. I see that they found the bottles that I bought, with the toddler teats, as I call them. I just made the holes bigger so the toddlers could drink quicker. The scientists had no patience and often wouldn't wait for the toddlers to finish. I'm so thankful that they are all now free, with caring parents who love them. Julie and I sit down on the carpet, each of us holding one of her twins, and her little toddler sits in between us, staring up at us. It's unusual to see so many babies and toddlers so still and quiet here on the surface. I haven't been permitted to return to my home on the surface for over 20 years now, but I still remember the happy little noises of toddlers and babies playing. I suppose these children have never been allowed to play. Sitting still and quiet is all they know. I look at the baby in my arms and think that maybe I would have made a good mum, given the chance. One thing is for sure, I am going to be the best grandma ever to all these precious little people. Julie is looking at me with tears in her eyes again. She says,
I probably wouldn't be here right now if it wasn't for you. Thank you so much for your kindness.
Now I have tears in my eyes again. I look up and notice that many of the people here are teary. All happy tears, I hope. The man asks if he can join us. We both nod yes, and he sits on the carpet with us. He asks the young lady if her name is Julie. She says,
Yes, it is. How did you know?
He doesn't answer, but just sits looking at her with tears in his eyes. Eventually Julie notices, and he shows her his wristband. It is the same as hers, but it has writing on it. The writing says, "Find your sister Julie." Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your company.